Let's just say the Dallas Wings just became a very interesting team. It's a very interesting situation over in Dallas now with the Wings, with the team that is currently being put together. You see this graphic, that's L's 535, giving them credit, but Paige Bueckers, Arike Gumbawale, Melissa Smith, and DiJonai Carrington. Because in case you weren't aware, DiJonai Carrington has been traded to the Wings to join Melissa Smith. I mean, that's not the specific purpose, but it's got to be part of it. Right? And the eighth pick that the Wings got from the Fever is heading over to Connecticut as part of that deal. It's really a fire sale in Connecticut. Everybody's gone. It's going to be a whole new. Marina Mabry is basically the only player left there from that core. It's going to be the number 12 pick in Carrington to the Wings for JC Sheldon and the number 8 pick to the Sun. So the Sun going to try to, get something out of Sheldon in this deal as well. But then there's the other dynamics and DiJonai heading to the Wings and being there with Melissa Smith, who was traded from the Fever to the Wings, and the prospects of Paige Bueckers. And if I'm Paige Bueckers, I might be going, if she wasn't feeling the Wings before, I mean, you could make the argument, they add a player in Carrington who's a really good defensive player and helps them and could take some of the pressure off of Paige in the sense that she's going to pick up the other team's best matchup, that kind of deal. But there will be some conversations around that squad. And we've already heard the rumors and the reports that Paige isn't too keen on going to Dallas. I don't know how this could sway her opinion one way or the other, because let me just be fully transparent. Any Indiana Fever fan is thrilled that they don't have to deal with those dynamics anymore. Because not only was Melissa Smith obviously a borderline liability for the Fever a year ago, which is why I don't understand this idea that she had all this tremendous trade value when they were worse when she was on the floor. She didn't defend. She can't shoot. Just, that's why it was like, Tammy Benley and Dantas and trying other players, and why the Natasha Howard signing is so big in my mind, because it gives you a real actual option, especially one who can attack and rim dive and run the floor instead of Melissa Smith in that spot. And then there was the extra stuff that came along with that and Smith's relationship with Carrington. Now, they weren't on the same team, but the Sun and the Fever played enough and in high leverage situations where it mattered. It mattered. And also, it seemed like DiJonai was able to play with the Fever fan base a little bit in that regard because Melissa was there. Right? And it probably made, aside from, DiJonai and Clark going at it game one and the whole this thing, and then of course the eye poke thing that made it a Clark DiJonai battle, there was that subplot of Melissa Smith the entire time. And DiJonai would, I think, calculated in her, when she would put stuff publicly out there, the timing of it always seemed a little calculated to me. And that can mess with the chemistry of the team because, of course, Melissa Smith ain't going to want to go against her girlfriend, but she's teammates with the Fever play. I just never seen nothing like that before, to be honest with you. They can, I hope they thrive. I hope they live happily ever after. I just have never seen one team playing another team and the other team has the significant other of someone from the team that's playing them. I've never seen that in sports before. Perhaps it's happened before, but it was a constant, almost like novella aspect of the season. So I think for the Fever to be rid of Melissa Smith, who wasn't helping them on the floor, and that drama, that's like, I think that's how that feels to people in the Indiana fan base for sure. And now they can kind of laugh about it. Now, that doesn't mean it won't work out for Dallas. Obviously, Carrington and Smith were together for a little bit of time at Baylor, and now they're together on the Wings, and Arike Gumbawale is there, of course, and the Wings have the number 1 pick in the draft, and that's where the speculation about Paige Bueckers is, of course, or where it's come from, and it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Paige was going to head to Dallas, obviously, once they got the number one pick, and she's been the presumptive number one pick for the longest time. But just like with some of the other things I see out there, there's been enough smoke from reputable people on the idea of Paige not wanting to play in Dallas that I have to give credence to it. I'm not saying she's going to do that and take that hardline stance and say, I'm not playing there and you got to trade the pick or do whatever you got to do, or I'll threaten to go back to school, or I'll threaten to just play in Unrivaled, or whatever it is. I'm not saying she's going to do that, but I'm saying enough people have floated the possibility of her doing something to that effect, the Eli Manning, where I can't just ignore it as a possibility. With that said, I still believe she winds up in Dallas. Now, the question is, does she look at this and go, all right, we're more ready to compete with the addition of Carrington? I think more so than Smith from just a basketball personnel standpoint. Or is there a part of her that goes, no, there's going to be a little extra stuff around the coverage of the team now there too. I don't know. Perhaps Carrington and Smith together brings out the best in both of them, right? Because being human for a second, it's got to be hard to be separated. They were separated, and Alyssa was in China and the like. And a fresh start away from the Fever fan base, away from the Caitlin Clark dynamic. Maybe that changes things. Maybe that helps them both thrive on the court and off the court. But I'm just speaking from the experience of having covered it for an entire season, that it always seemed to be something there. And Smith would go back and forth with the fans, and Carrington would say what she had to say about the fans. And, it just was a constant subplot that is now on the wings, instead of constantly waiting in the wings for the next door to open on a story with the Fever. So we'll see how it all unfolds. It's been quite an offseason. Again, the Connecticut Sun have lost their entire squad. Stephanie White's gone. Alyssa Thomas is gone. DiJonai Carrington is gone. DeWanna Bonner, soon to be gone, clearly. That's a franchise that is completely starting over. The Wings are trying to build something, obviously. I mean, I've talked about how much I like that deal for the Fever. I mean, I love that deal for the Fever. Both of the moves they made, the signing of Howard and then trading for Cunningham. You get a big who can play, or, a big wing, power forward, essentially, forward, swing forward, who can do a lot of things. And you get another 3-and-D wing in Sophie Cunningham, and two tough players. But as far as, Dallas, I think it's fair to say the Wings are now interesting.